Densha de GO!
Densha de GO Nagoya Tetsudo Hen was released on Thursday, 27th of January 2000 for the Sony PlayStation. Unlike previous entries in the series that included routes from all over Japan, this one focuses on a specific region, Nagoya, a city in Aichi, Japan. It's actually quite a big one, fourth in Japan by population, only being beaten by Osaka, Yokohama, and of course Tokyo. Nagoya is situated between Tokyo and Osaka, and it is a stop on the Tokaido Shinkansen running between those two cities, but to pass through it would be remiss as it is a great place to visit. While there, one can take in Nagoya Castle, Nagoya TV Tower, a zoo, an aquarium, and Legoland Japan Resort. Local delicacies include Ogura toast, that's a slice of toast with delicious red bean paste, and the incredible miso katsu, which is the classic katsu breaded pork cutlet with the added twist of a sauce made from red miso, a variation on the classic miso made from fermented soybeans. Legendary manga artist and creator of Dragon Ball and the character designer for the Dragon Quest series, Akira Toriyama, was born in Nagoya, as was Koji Kondo, Nintendo's musical maestro, responsible for the music and sound effects in many of the big NES and Super NES games. He wrote the scores for Mario 64, Star Fox 64, and Ocarina of Time, cementing his position as a luminary in video game music. Do you know what else Nagoya has, aside from alluring landmarks, delicious delicacies, and celebrated creators? That's right, Nagoya has its own private rail company, Meitetsu, which is the focus for this entry in the Densha de GO series. The earlier entries in the series all used nationalised JR East, JR Central, JR West, and JR Kyushu trains covering the length and breadth of the mainland and Kyushu. Japan Rail does operate within Nagoya as part of JR Central, but for Densha de GO Nagoya Tetsudo Hen or Nagoya Rail Edition, it's all about Meitetsu. Meitetsu dates back to the 1890s, starting out as Aichi Horse Car Company. Over the years, it has grown and absorbed several other local train companies and their lines. These days, Meitetsu manages 276 stations serving 1,076 train cars. The question to ask is, why Nagoya? It's not the only private rail in Japan. There are other private railway companies that could have been used. The Keio line would offer great changes in scenery as it leaves Tokyo heading for Mount Takao and Hachijouji. The Keisei line would be fun for a commuter edition that sees the train carrying passengers from Tokyo out to Narita Airport in Chiba. This does happen later on, kind of, but that's for a much, much later video. So, why Nagoya's Meitetsu Rail? I read a rumour on a forum that Taito had approached JR Central with the goal of making a game, or even just a route, set in Chubu, the central chunk of the mainland between Tokyo in the east and Osaka in the west. But JR Central turned them down on the grounds of capturing footage from trains is forbidden. We know from interviews with developers that audio-visual equipment was attached to trains to collect data which was incorporated into a game. Without the ability to record the routes in detail, making the game would be a nightmare. So Taito approached Meitetsu, who were only too happy to help. In an interview with Togakushi Noriyasu, chief director of the home console Dengo games, he stated that Meitetsu were incredibly helpful, not only in providing source materials, but also went out of their way to advertise and promote the game as something special for residents of Nagoya. This resulted in Taito selling 1 million units in Nagoya alone and selling out their initial stock in the process. So, for a series first, Dengo Nagoya features private rail courtesy of Meitetsu. In another first for this series, and the only time, players can operate a monorail. Not just any monorail, mind you, a monorail that terminates at a monkey-themed amusement park that contains actual monkeys. The park, not the monorail. If that doesn't secure this game an S rank on our Dengo tier list, I do not know what will. And that's as good a place as any to start talking about the included routes in Densha de GO Nagoya. Unfortunately, there are only 4 routes included in this installment: the Nagoya Main Line, the Inuyama Line, the Minamachi Line, and the aforementioned Monorail Line. And there are only 12 schedules to run. The Nagoya Main Line runs in-game from Shin Nagoya Station, renamed to Meitetsu Nagoya Station in 2008, to Shin Gifu, which was also renamed to Meitetsu Gifu in 2005. Shin means new in English, and after almost 100 years, calling a station New Gifu may come across as sarcastic. There is a shorter route in the game that terminates at Sakaguchi. On the Nagoya Main Line, there are 4 schedules with individual trains: the 3700 series, the 1000/1200 series, 6000 series, and the 3400 series trains. The Inuyama Line runs from Shin Nagoya Station to Shin Unuma Station. Unlike Shin Nagoya and Shin Gifu stations, Shin Unuma Station has not been renamed. On the Inuyama Line, you can pilot 7000 series, 100 series, 1000 series, 8500 series, 8000 series, and 1600 series trains. Now, the more observant of you will have noticed that these 2 lines make up 10 out of the 12 schedules, meaning that the last 2 routes only get 1 schedule each. The Minamachi Line, which has been closed since 2005, ran a section between Hinobashi and Shin Gifu. This was a tram line that ran on dedicated tracks and on road and rail tracks. We only get 1 schedule for this, running the 880 series tram. And lastly, we have the monorail running an MRM 100 series between Inuyama Yuen, or Inuyama Playground, to Dobutsuen, which means zoo in reference to the monkey park. This may be the shortest route in Dengo history, as it's only 2 stops and takes a grand total of about 4 minutes, meaning that the combined loading times, train intro times, pulling into station cinematics, and route complete jingle and message almost last as long as the route's playtime. Unfortunately, these days the monorail is no more, having been closed in 2008 due to dwindling passenger numbers. The Meitetsu of Densha de GO Nagoya Edition is very different from the Meitetsu of today, and not limited to the unfortunate closure of monkey-themed monorails. What makes this Densha de GO especially interesting is the number of changes Nagoya Rail has gone through. I imagine that long-term residents of Nagoya and Nagoyanese rail fans will be captivated by this time capsule covering turn-of-the-millennium rail. Even during production, changes were being made to the real lines. Inuyama Bridge, featured in the game as a joint road and rail bridge, was made rail only within weeks of the game being published, thereby ending the last joint road and rail bridge in Japan. The Kiha 8000 series featured in the game had already been scrapped, meaning that when it came time to record a video montage to celebrate a no-continue run, such a train was unavailable. Instead, Taito slapped on a video promoting Oigawa Railway, also owned by Meitetsu, which showed a lovely collection of steam locomotives, despite no steam trains featuring in this game whatsoever. The iconic red colour scheme seen in extensive use in-game has since been replaced with a less impressive brushed steel look. And of course, the buildings and landscapes have undergone constant change. I suppose this is true of all Densha de GO games, and it's part of the series' appeal. Having a game set in the real world, relying on real world assets, only serves to highlight how things have changed over the years. The architecture, colour schemes, semiotics, and graphic design of Japan 1997 to 2004 are all captured in this series. In a time when most games were looking forward to interstellar travel, huge leaps in tech, or immersion into cyberpunk, Densha de GO was firmly rooted in the veracity of contemporary Japan. So, rolling stock and routes established, what else is included in Densha de GO Nagoya Tetsudo Hen? We boot the game to any one of the trains featured in the game, dragging in the Taito logo. We then get a lovely FMV intro sequence featuring the trains and rails of Meitetsu. And then boom, the title screen. But what's this? Have a listen.
Densha de GO! Nagoya 鉄道編
It's a girl! Another first in the series. The male announcer has been the same Taito staff member for each of the games, but as this is a special game, we get a special announcer. Leave the main menu running and you'll see a high score table. An in-game demo. And then what is referred to in the credits as an image song, a track that represents the spirit of the game and subject matter. This one is called Ashita e no Chiketo, or A Ticket to Tomorrow. This song also features on the Densha de GO 3 and Densha de GO Nagoya soundtrack CD. That CD is amazing and will get its own sidetracked video before long. I don't know how much I can play on here, as fair use does not exist in Japan and companies are fairly litigious when it comes to music copyright. I'll pop a link in the description if you fancy a listen. Alright, let's jump into the main menu. On offer in this installment we have the Expert course. These are just the standard courses, are normally referred to as Duty of Driving a Train. This is where the 12 timetables I mentioned earlier are accessed. The Beginner's course offers you 2 tutorial stages. The first allows the player to familiarise themselves with the tram, and the second is a local train. Both routes only let you practice one segment and are very brief. It's nice to see tutorials making a comeback despite them being incredibly basic. I think having a tutorial for the tram was fairly essential given the additional challenges of traffic lights and other road users.
これがマスコンです
In the Material Hall of Train we have a few changes from the usual. No 3D models of trains this time, but we have a list of Meitetsu trains broken down into Limited Express type, Commuter type, Branch Line type, and Electric Locomotive type trains. All these photos come with a brief description and seem to have a higher resolution than previous photo galleries. Next up is a tourist information section for sites dotted along the Meitetsu train lines, although only half of these locations are anywhere near the lines run in-game. The first 3, Meiji Village, Japan Monkey Park and Little World, are all accessible from the Inuyama line. Meiji Village is an open-air architecture attraction with actual historical buildings being moved and reconstructed. These days Japan Monkey Park is aimed at much younger kids, but you can see from this incredible stock photo here that was not always the case. And look at this photo. This game was released in 2000, and I'll be a monkey's uncle if this photo isn't from at least 10 years before that. I wonder if the attractions had to provide their own images. Actually, it's probably far more likely that Meitetsu themselves provided the photos to drive tourism. And finally, Little World is not a world of miniatures, but another architectural museum with buildings from all over the world. It is enormous and holds regular location-themed events. The other 3 locations are a great distance away from Nagoya down on the Chita Peninsula. Minami Chita Beachland, Utsumi Forest Park, and the Sugimoto Museum of Art. Next up in the Material Hall is another photo gallery, this time separated into seasonal collections. The headings read, Spring is dawn, summer is night, autumn is dusk, and winter is duty. Each contains lovely images capturing the spirit of rail in Nagoya. And lastly, there is the library, where you can watch full motion video or listen to the music, voice samples or sound effects from the game. It seems to me that this is a Nagoya tourism promotion masquerading as a train driving sim. Next on the main menu is the options. Usual fare here. controller type, that master controller or one handle type, difficulty, sound channel, speedometer style, distance gauge style, screen position, and vibration. Once again, for those players using a Densha de GO controller but want to feel the vibrations as they rattle over the tracks, you can pop a DualShock into controller port 2 and get the full experience. Score attack is still an ongoing concern in Densha de GO games, so you can check your stats on the ranking screens. Next up is load and save options. There is auto load each time you load up the game, but no auto save, so make sure you save after each run. And look here at the bottom. It reads, download Dengo Nagoya Tetsudo Hen. This is one of 2 downloadable games for the Sony Pocket Station. This game is a very simplified game of Densha de GO to play on the go. Speed up and slow down on the same tracks featured in-game. The other game is unlocked once you've completed a couple of no continue runs. This is a game of rock, paper, scissors against Tetsu-chan that awards success with bonus waiting time in-game. There are 2 rounds. First, classic rock, paper, scissors against the computer. But then you have to guess which direction Tetsu-chan is looking in. It's bonkers and really hard to win any bonus time. Every time you do win, however, you will bag 2 seconds that can be used on a run of your choice. Just don't expect to win that many. The penultimate choice on the main menu is One Con de Do. I think this vaguely translates as how about the one handle controller? And this is a collection of minigames. I'll come back to these later. And finally, any of the timetables you complete are made available in the free run section, allowing you to cruise along without having to worry about timings or even speed limits. Lovely. Let's get into the game proper. Initially, only the first 7 timetables are available, with these special routes unlocked as you go along. The first route is an Express 3700 series from Shin Nagoya to Sakaguchi. It's a 1 difficulty level to ease you into the game. We get our usual schedule board animation and train introduction scene. You can see that the route is quite short, hence the 1-star rating. We start off underground in Shin Nagoya Station. Get used to seeing this. I won't be talking about the mechanics of the Dengo series in great detail. If this is your first video in the series, just go back to Dengo 1 or 2 to get up to speed. But one word of warning, unlike other Dengo games, Meitetsu has special rules. Most notably, never go above 90% of the speed limit. Don't brake any harder than B6. And penalties are awarded for going over a single kilometre an hour over the limit. And you must wait for the pilot light and 2 bell rings before accelerating out of the station. Not all of this is relayed to you, the player, so it was quite fun to see my final evaluation for a given run in the 60s. This is another point I noticed. Completing a run isn't too difficult. Completing a run well is almost impossible due to the intense constraints of not being able to use the full range of brakes and not being able to drive to the speed limit. In fact, there are routes where it is literally impossible to score 100% on the rankings. Graphically, there's something different about the game. I don't know if this is just leaving behind the clean, high-res Dreamcast Dengo 2 we played last time, but the level of detail seems crazy high. Chunky, but incredibly detailed. The routes just seem to pop. It's like every pixel has been put to use to create a cohesive look. Densha de GO Pro, the release prior to this on the PlayStation, looked great, but there's something more to this one. I wonder if it was because Dengo Pro was a compilation of all that had gone before, and with Nagoya being a fresh build, and Making the most of 6 years of PlayStation development progress, Taito managed to squeeze just a little bit more from the console. It does look great. The world looks lived in, which has been a criticism for a few of the games. The tracksides are absolutely loaded with houses, shops, parks, pedestrians and cars. Loads of cars all over the shop. I really like the fact that the cars have this chibi deformed look. It's as if the world has been populated with Chorokyu cars. Speaking of cars, if you have been watching this series for a while now, you may be ready for something a bit different. So let's take a break from trains and hop on over to the tram for a frustratingly brief run from Hinobashi to Shingifu. Again, look at the detail. People are using the footbridge. There's a timetable information stand next to the road. There's a convex mirror to give a better viewing angle. There's randomised traffic moving along the road in time with randomised traffic lights. This could be a bone of contention as, by having all the lights available on red, you could be delayed through no fault of your own. There's also a passing ambulance that requires you to come to a complete stop or be penalised. The addition of random elements really gave this route an edge over the others. You can't just accelerate, coast and stop like you can with the trains. You must remain alert for cars popping out of side streets or weaving into your lane. Man, this route was so fun. I cannot work out for the life of me why there is only one timetable making use of all these assets. Palette swap the sky for orange, put a couple more cars on the road, slow the tram's acceleration and braking, and call it rush hour. It seems easy. There are lots of opportunities to get bonus time by beeping your horn each time you come to an intersection, especially if a car is already waiting for you to pass. This was such a treat, but worry not, Dengo maniacs. We are only a few more installments away from Densha de GO, The Spirit of Travel on the PS2, a game that is crammed with trammy goodness. Let's pop over to the other twist to the Dengo formula, Monkey Monorail. You'll see from the route map that there are only 2 stops, Narita-zan and Monkey Park. There is a genuine concern that the footage will have finished before my commentary does. Pulling away, we see a 7000 series beneath us. A nice bit of world building there. The train just dropped off the passengers we'll be taking for a fun day out at the zoo. Top speed is 35 km an hour for the monorail, but we're doing 30, when in fact we should be doing no more than 27. You may have noticed that I switched to the digital readout for my speedometer. This was due to being penalised because of the inaccuracy of the dial. While I thought I was going 60 km an hour, I was in fact going 61. An unforgivable act punishable by a 10-second fine. This is another lovely run with a mountain type skybox all around. There are some challenging inclines on this route that require judicious use of the master controller. But only one timetable. I don't get it. Grey out the sky, slap in some rain, pooch the braking, and bang! Double the content. Weather conditions already feature in the game with some good rain effects. So why not just apply these settings to other stages? Still, the inclusion of tram and monorail schedules is something new and interesting, which is more than can be said for most of the Dengo games so far. The other schedules featured in Nagoya Rail Edition all play fairly similarly, mostly starting out at Shin Nagoya on the Nagoya main line, and veering off onto the Inuyama line. They aren't wildly different in playstyles, just the usual, older trains are more reluctant to stop. The degree of challenge does vary, with local trains requiring accurately stopping at 19 stations before the route is over. The harder routes are express or limited express routes with many station pass-throughs, and passing through stations behind schedule deducts from your already reduced waiting time. Let's take a quick sidetrack back to One Con de Do, our collection of minigames that use the one-handle controller exclusively. There are 5 minigames to choose from, each changing the Go from Densha de GO to another word ending in O to create a variety of puns. Do can mean how about in Japanese, so I think this reads how about we one-handle, or why not play with a one-handle controller? Hanko ga mo, or it's been stamped already, is a game where you fervently thrash your one-handle back and forth to stamp papers. Once the paper has been stamped, press B to have the page taken away, ready for the next page to be stamped. It is bonkers, but probably the easiest of these minigames. Fusen wa no, or No Balloons, is a shooting game where you pull back the handle to load a pellet into a slingshot, and then slam the throttle forward to launch it. The aim is to pop the balloons released by negligent children at a fairground. Buttons A and C can be used to move your slingshot left and right. This one is really hard. Kipu wo ho? This doesn't translate as easily, but comes to something like, tickets please, oh! Ho is an onomatopoeia used to express surprise. In this game you are a station gate attendant looking to punch people's tickets. The O part comes from the different ways people hand you their tickets, and you having to compensate by moving your arm. This is a super fun game that requires a fair bit of accuracy with your lever control. Move your hand to align with the customers and press B to grab their ticket. Slam your throttle all the way back down, press B again to punch before swinging it back up to place a ticket in the customer's hand. I'm 90% sure that's a Lone Wolf and Cub reference there. Fourth game is Gunman Moso. A gunman as well is a quick draw type game that is impossible to beat. I mean it. You have to set your controller to neutral, wait for the countdown, then swing all the way down to grab your gun, and swinging it all the way back up to the top again to aim. Then tap B to fire. The last round is actually impossible, but it looks beautiful. Kyujo de Ko, or rescuing, is like this. Sees you man a physics-defying pneumatic lift to rescue people trapped in an apartment block. This is the simplest of the games, merely requiring going up and down from neutral to break 8. Very hard though, as the victims cannot get past walls of fire, so you have to wait for them to make their way across the balconies first, and there can be enormous gaps of wasted time. These games are all pretty ruinous for your controller, but they do provide a good workout. It's a shame but kind of predictable that we would never see the like again. And also, I cannot help but think that the time spent on these games could have been put towards a couple extra schedules or to make some variations to the driving conditions. So what else is there? I can tell you what there isn't. There's no bonus game. Other entries in the series gave players the chance to win additional waiting time by connecting two trains. In this game, there is no such bonus stage, even on the longest runs, which I think is about 19 stops. I imagine that the Pocket Station game was to make up for this omission and to give players a chance to increase their waiting time. Curiously, in the sound effects menu there is the bonus game jingle remixed from previous games, suggesting that at some point the bonus game was included but cut out. All the music has had a refresh too. The tunes are all very familiar, but they've had a bit of extra pizzazz thrown in. And you may notice that the font used in the waiting time gauge has been changed, making it more in line with Meitetsu aesthetics. I mentioned earlier about the braking regulations. One thing you'll notice as you play Dengo Nagoya is that the brakes work. They can bring you to a screeching halt pretty sharpish, meaning you can be doing 60 km an hour and still leave it quite late to brake. Conversely though, the trains don't seem to maintain as much momentum. In Dengo Pro you can coast for miles at 3 km per hour. Here though, if you've still got any distance to go, you'll need to take the penalty for accelerating in the station. The game was pretty well received at the time. It didn't score as highly as Dengo Pro in Famitsu's cross review, but still managed 28 out of 40. Dengeki PlayStation magazine awarded it an average of 72.5%. The reviews hint at a general fatigue with the series, suggesting that casual players might not get as much from it as the hardcore rail fans. The game was promoted using famous 70s crooner Noguchi Goro, hence the changing of the game's name to Densha de GO. The Japanese bloody love their puns, don't they? This poster may need some explaining. Noguchi Goro wrote a song called Shitetsu Ensen, which translates to Private Railway Lines. Now, that's a catchy song title. But it was an absolutely massive hit in 1975. And what is Densha de GO Nagoya about? That's right, Private Railway Lines. It's a marketing match made in heaven. Even without knowing the backstory, it's a striking image. Goro adopting a wide-legged power stance, eyes towards the future, guitar in hand to defeat whatever comes his way, bolstered by a 3700 series train at his back. Absolutely love it. It leans into the salaryman demographic by using a musician they would have heard as kids. Flippin' genius, it works on so many levels. The game also had a special and now incredibly rare controller and game bundle exclusive to Nagoya. The artwork on the box depicts sights and delicacies exclusive to Nagoya. These good luck charm fish with dragon heads are attached to the top of Nagoya Castle, and they have the mythical power to store water and control the rains, so these guys are here to ward off any potential fires. The castle still stands, so they must be doing something right. So, what do we think? While I joked earlier about the monkey monorail guaranteeing the game an S rank, that was pretty hyperbolic. While this game is assuredly a high point in the series so far, it's not without criticism. 4 lines is pretty bad, considering that is the same amount as featured in the original Densha de GO. It's even worse when you consider that 6 out of 12 schedules are on the same stretch of track with different trains. The criminal underuse of the tram and monorail also needs to be highlighted. These could have been made into easy additional content. But flipping that around, there is a wealth of additional content. From the multitudinal photo galleries, tourist information, minigames and tutorials. I've been harsh to games that have had loads of routes but no extras, most of the Densha de GO 2 ports for example. But here we have the opposite. Densha de GO Nagoya Rail Edition is mostly additional content with a train sim attached. But it's still great. I defy anyone to play this for the first time without a smile on your face. The trackside details, the improved textures, the chunky cars trundling down the highways, the living world, the musical horns that some of the trains use, the use of Nagoya dialect by the passengers when you mess up.
もう下手やねん。
It's all just so charming. But where can it go? I want it to be an S. I really do. But then I gave Dengo 64 an A, and this is better than Dengo 64. Sod it, it's going in S. Congratulations Densha de GO Nagoya, you ranked an S in my confused and confusing arbitrary Dengo tier list. One idea that hit like a lightning bolt was how Densha de GO started in the arcade, but flourished in the home. It's wild just how much more evolved and creative the home versions of the games were. Traditionally, the home versions were the scaled down ones, the meager hardware unable to compete with cutting edge arcade machines. But as we entered the new millennium, the arcades were getting left behind, and consoles began to shine. Well, that will just about do us for this episode. Thank you so much for watching, as always. Joining me next time when we return to the golden age of Steam with Densha de GO on the Sony PlayStation. Bye for now, I'll see you at the next station.